Happy birthday, it's your birthday, happy belated birthdays in the past, happy future birthdays in the future. My name's Lime Green, and welcome back to the Odd Time Podcast, the podcast for you, yes, you, request for me, games to play, and then I sit down and I play them. But, as you can see, Sonic Mania is all done. So now you're like, what are you doing? Sonic Mania is all done. We're going to be talking about the Sonic movie trilogy this time, and also Mega Man Anti-Warrior, because I decided to lump in Mega Man Battle Network 2 in with the Sonic podcast, because I'm crazy. So that's what this episode's gonna be about. Also, this episode in particular got really delayed because if you want to see my in-depth thoughts about the Sonic movie trilogy, there's a video called I Reviewed Every Video Game Movie Ever Part 1, in which I talk about 15 video game movies, and, later parts are going to be more video game movies. But check that specific video out for in-depth analysis and tier listing of the Sonic trilogy. I meant for this to go up, a little after Sonic 3 came out, but, I wanted to watch more video game movies so I could actually put in the title and have it not be clickbait. Hey, I watch every video game movie ever. If you know, you know. So let's get started. Sonic 1 came out in 2020, and up until I say this in the other video, again, I'm trying not to retread that video, so this is gonna be like just kind of like my thoughts and feelings on the Sonic movies, but it's a good movie. Up until, we'll say, Detective Pikachu, people didn't really think video game movies really were all that good. And then Detective Pikachu came out, and people were like, alright, it's pretty good. I wasn't too crazy about the visuals. I'm like wishy-washy on the visuals in Detective Pikachu. And then what came out after Detective Pikachu? Check my notes. Oh geez. Detective Pikachu, and then something else came out. Something came out after Detective Pikachu and before Sonic. I'm blanking out on what it is. But then people were like, okay. And then Sonic came out, and people were like, I'm not so big on the design. That's a big understatement. And they changed it. And then people were like, oh, Baby Sonic. It's very faithful, I think, to the games. And I said in my actual tier listing video, I said I like how it grounds Sonic as a speedster. One thing I've noticed in like videos on the Flash, people were like, man, why can't you just make the Flash, super powerful, awesome? You could say the same about Sonic. There's a scene in the Sonic movie where he just like freezes time and hits all the rockets, and you don't see that in the other movies. You could explain away, because Robotnik gets the quill and he understands Sonic better, and Sonic can't just run to San Fran really fast because he doesn't even know where it is. So it kind of grounds Sonic in a smart way. So that's Sonic 1. I liked it. I did not see it when it came out because there's a lot going on, we'll say. Kind of in a nice way of saying things. Sonic 2, I also did not see when it came out. There's still of a crazy situations, kind of. Also, again, throughout this podcast, more of a Nintendo fan, so, even if it came out, I don't think I will have been, like, rushing to the theater. I did hear, because, like, I'm a video game enthusiast, I'm like, I heard of all the jokes, the Olive Garden joke. I heard, rave reviews as Sonic hit my feeds. And I'm like, man, this is ramping up to be pretty good. Sonic 2, I always kind of, in retrospect, I kind of mishmash what is in what now. I'm like, all right, is the wedding scene in 1 or 2? Is Knuckles in 3? And, it kind of like, I would say is, it kind of, the writing is very consistent across all 3. And you could say that's pretty good when you can't tell there's not like a good dip in quality, when it's all across the board. You're not like, oh man, is this from this movie? Or, it just feels like it's all one story. And they kind of like foretell or foreshadow, that's the word, foreshadow each other. In Sonic 2, I liked how they bring in Sonic's ability not to swim. I thought that was probably the highlight of Sonic 2. And also, Robotnik on the Mushroom Planet. That was a nice scene. And the Mean Bean Coffee and Sonic trying to be a superhero reminded me of this, like a crazy callback, but the Scooby-Doo ad where it's like, he's here coming this summer, and it turns out you think it's like an ad for Batman, but it's an ad for Scooby-Doo. That's like the craziest reference I could make, but that's what Sonic trying to be Batman reminds me of. I remember a second ago when I said Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 are extremely faithful to the source material. Sonic 3 takes that and it ramps it up like another degree. Sonic 3, it takes the Sonic Adventure 2 just entire story and it goes, hey, you guys like that? You guys like Shadow. You guys really like Shadow. You guys like the whole Maria storyline. Again, I've never played Sonic Adventure 2. I've just like absorbed everything from like just existing. And, I've kind of pieced together the story. And I was expecting that twist about Maria, but I was kind of, I'm kind of, I don't know whether to discuss spoilers or not, but again, they do a good job with representing both Shadow, Maria, both their stories, and Sonic, Team Sonic's story at the same time. The Eggman stuff, I thought was pretty good. The fight at the end, not so much. If I had to nitpick, that would be one thing I would have improved on. I can see a world where Eggman comes back again for Sonic 4. Especially, I can see how they do it. Because, Metal Sonic is in Sonic 4. And that's, for Sonic CD, they could do a time travel thing. I see how they could do it. But I'm really interested in what comes down the line and what more stories they really could tell, because I feel like that was their big story. And if they could do Sonic 06, like that's their other big story, am I right? I don't know. Sonic Colors, people like that one. But is that story focus? I don't think so. Eggman builds a roller coaster in space. Let me know. Otherwise, we're gonna jump into Mega Man NT Warrior. I almost said Battle Network. Okay, but before we jump into NT Warrior proper, there's a couple of things I want to clear up, fix up. Last time we were talking about NT Warrior, I'm like, man, this isn't bad for a 4Kids production. And then I went to this long thing about talking about 4Kids dubbing. You gotta give them a little respect. And then I found out this is not done by 4Kids. This is an Ocean Productions production. Again, I'll stand by what I said. 4Kids kind of like opened up anime in the West. You gotta give them a little bit of respect for that. Another thing, I said this is all season 1. I said let's watch all of NT Warrior season 1. That was like 15 episodes or something. Apparently when they localized Mega Man into NT Warrior, they like really screwed up the episode list. That's how I came up with that. So that's why this time we're gonna just take 15 more episodes. I took until Mega Man Battle Network 2 started coming in, kind of. It gets a little weird. There's a little Battle Network 3 before 2. I don't know what they were doing. And then the last part I want to talk about before we actually start talking about these episodes is talk about what happened last time, because you might not even know what happened last time. Last time they were getting ready for the N1 Grand Prix, and they're trying to master the super secret move, and Lan met up with Todd, Eugene, Blaze, and he's like, you better master that super secret move. And Lan's like, grr, I don't like you. And they're standing in like a crowded not highway, but like there's like what's the Japan street in Persona, that place, and there's cars flying everywhere. It was an episode, to say the least. Hopefully I summarized it well. and you have a picture painted in your mind. So episode 15 starts out, and if you know what the N1 Grand Prix is, it's like the Indigo Plateau in Pokemon. It's like a bunch of battles back to back to back, and that's basically the best way I can summarize it. The Net Navis, they're like Pokemon. There's a match between Sharkman and Whale Man, and Sharkman is commanded by Commander Beef, one of the best characters in fiction. Commander Beef, he of course wins, best character in fiction, and he, during the match, he tries to stall for time so Lan can try to learn Program Advance, the super secret move, and it's revealed they have to be as one, so otherwise the power can't be achieved. And we go into the next match. It's Yahoot versus Lan, and it's revealed Chad and Proto Man have mastered the Program Advance. They are completely in sync. That's the entirety of I keep saying chapter. Episode 15. Episode 16, it's Mayu versus Tori. And I wrote down Drill Man and Pick Mock. Beat by Stone Man and Blaster Man. Interesting, because Stone Man has an operator in the anime, but not the game. Blaster Man and Drill Mock don't even exist in the game. Drill Man does in Battle Network 3, and Blaster Man is known as Bomb Man in game. That's just my notes exactly. And then we have a match between Sal and Dex and versus Stone Man and Blaster Man. I'm surprised they don't try to get rid of Sal and Dex before the match. That's my big thing with the N1 Grand Prix. Like in Pokemon, we see Team Rocket like in the stands and whatever, but in this, like World 3, they follow the rules, but they also don't follow the rules. It like depends on the episode. It's like bananas to me. And then I wrote, okay, I was not expecting the twist of the operators being robots and Sal and Dex to lose in like 2 attacks. Yeah, this episode kind of flips everything on its head. And for the status quo to be the status quo for a while, you will see what I mean. So the next episode is like craziness incarnate. So World 3 is at the match, and for all those that don't know World 3, they're like a big thing in the first game, like the final boss material. Well, not final boss material, they were the big organization, and they're comprised of Mr. Match, Maddie, Count Zap, and Yahoot. Higsby, he was a part of World 3, but he got like reformed, and now he's like the co-commentator of N1 Grand Prix, and they're doing like crazy stuff in the first game. I cannot express enough crazy stuff in the first game. Second game, they weren't even there. Well, they were there, in quotation marks. They appear and they're like, hey, here I am. And you could fight them, I guess. Past that, again, I don't know. I haven't played those games. But it's crazy to see, like, they've been demoted from, like, final boss, working with the final boss material to, like, Monster of the Week type deal. But that's who they are. And they're all at the N1 Grand Prix saying, when's the match gonna start? And only Lan and Beef are really there. The match is between Commander Beef and Lan. They're on the same side. Versus Stone Man and Blaster Man. And Stone Man and Blaster Man get there. The match starts. They're fighting each other, duking it out. I wrote down one thing I want eventually to see in the games is the ability to like cancel out specific moves, like water cancels out a fire move, you know, the elemental stuff. I come from a Pokemon background, if you can't tell. Eventually, this is when it gets wild. Stone Man and Blaster Man take the match out of the arena, and they like travel the online highway to a nearby lighthouse. And Rabita and Higsby are like, alright, that's allowed, I guess. And they say, but actually, that's allowed, but if you leave the arena, you better come back in 10 minutes or you're out. Imagine if Charizard grabbed Magmar and he pulled him out of the volcano. Remember that episode? If Blaine said, hey, if you don't bring my Magmar back within 10 minutes, you're not getting that volcano badge, Ash. Like, you can't just update the rules mid-match. What are you doing, Rabita? So, Commander Beef and Lan have to go, well, first off, Sharkman sends a Morse-coded message to Commander Beef, because at first they don't even know where they went. So, Sharkman has to send a Morse code message through the lighthouse's light, and Commander Beef fights his way through the lighthouse with a fishbone spear, throwing fishing nets. And Lan, he has to throw like the little cards at him. He ain't a slouch. Blaster Man and Mega Man end up returning to the arena to move on, and Sharkman sacrifices himself to hold back Stone Man. Commander Beef almost gets exposed as Mesa, but Miyu comes by dressed as Mesa, like as the biggest, I don't know, wingman. I don't even know what to say. She really comes in clutch. Like I said, Commander Beef is the best character in fiction. You can't ever get a leg up on him. Episode 18. It has a new intro. New being new clips in the intro. Like I'll take it. We find out the N1 Grand Prix has a loser's bracket. Ash, again, I'm comparing it to Pokemon again. Ash is furious. Loser's bracket, what is this? Mr. Match and Maddie pull some Team Rocket shenanigans. And they somehow get themselves back into the tournament by like sabotaging the lottery system to because they do lottery to see who gets back into the losers bracket. It's a whole thing. I believe the next match is Breakman and Whaleman. I don't know. I just wrote down Breakman and Whaleman. A neat detail I saw was Higsby had a Gohei made out of battle chips instead of the typical Shide paper streamers. They're used for blessings, or in this case, exercising negative energy. Many shrine maidens use them, such as Reimu from the Toho project. And I said, okay, even if Mr. Match got back in, you brought the power of the sun to your last match, and you still lost. What more can you do? Like, really? Yahoot appears dressed up as a disguised Maddie and kidnaps Higsby. And he then gives Mayu the Great White Angel chip, which, to be fair, looks pretty cool. Then we go into the Mega Man and Roll versus Torchman and Wacko Man match. Count Zap, he's just kind of there playing the guitar. And then, were there really not that many chips in Battle Network 1? Like, I said, I swear I've seen Aqua Tower like 8 times already. Combining powers is cool. And the whole, I guess, plan for World 3 was to have Mayu use the Great White Angel chip. And I wrote, imagine if the Great White Angel chip was at the bottom of her folder, so Mayu uses it, and the chip turns Roll autonomous and evil, turning her into the Empress, and essentially turns it into a 3v1, everyone versus Mega Man. And I wrote, makes you really think about the whole NetNavi, NetOp thing, like Pokemon, where they can rebel. Like, can NetNavis just say, I'm not gonna listen to you. Like, why can't Mayu just be like, disconnect, roll? Like, I don't know. Next episode 19, there really are no rules for this N1 Grand Prix, huh? Yai, Tori, and Dex spend like half the episode looking for who's controlling Roll. Mega Man has to dodge until Torchman and Wacko Man begin fighting, and they say later Joker. The Empress picks Mega Man up by his face, and Mayu gives a heartfelt speech afterwards. The Empress says, "Thanks for believing in me." And then she says, "What a sucker." Count Zaps then says, "I'm on a roll." Again, I have to say, you really gotta give it to NT Warrior localization. There's not too many puns you can do with Mega Man characters. They're doing everything they can. Higsby then just wakes up. Again, Yahoo is disguised as Higsby, and he's commentating the match. It's a whole scene. Higsby wakes up, and he solves the issue in like a minute. And Chad takes out his opponents and his partner all in like one move. Again, Higsby is the GOAT. Next episode, who's going to be the next to take on the Landman? That's an actual line in the episode. It's Stone Man and Blaster Man versus Mega Man and Proto Man. Again, I thought Stone Man was eliminated. Remember when Shark Man held him down? And they both got eliminated? N1 Grand Prix just doesn't have any rules. Honestly, it's no holds barred. And another thing, that So, after this, after last episode, Mayu, since, Roll, used up all her power with, the devil chip, they're like, I guess I'm out of power. That's like the big plot point for her, and they just eliminate her from the tournament, or they resign or something. There's no Pokemon Center for net nappies. You can't rest up. You can't heal roll. I feel like Mayu got cheated. What? There's a rivalry going on between Yai and Chad because Yai's dad works for a big gaming company, and Chad, I guess he's kind of rich. Yai drinks strawberry milk when upset. Lan still trying to work on the program advance for the semis. He calls it the semis. Yai and Chad get trapped in an elevator. They climb out. Gets to match, 3 seconds left. And Chad's like, watch the strawberry milk. And that's the episode. That's pretty much the summary of the entire 20-minute episode of episode 20. More or less. Episode 21. Stone Man and Blaster Man versus Proto Man and Mega Man. The match begins. Stone Man says, guess what my favorite vegetable is? Squash. You're really you're really going ham. Blaster Man and Stone Man just destroy Mega Man. And Proto Man, he just watches. Proto Man, he eventually joins, putting Mega Man under some rocks. Last episode, Yai and Chad were climbing a ladder, and Yai lost her shoe climbing, and Chad just lost a couple battle chips falling out of his pocket. And Yai's like, remember that? They do a little flashback scene, and Chad's like, oh man, I can't do my program advance because those chips were special chips. I need to do them. And Yai's like, I can't do my program advance because I need my shoe. So Proto Man cuts up Blaster Man, and Wily cannot believe it. Wily's here watching the N1 Grand Prix on a big screen. Mega Man gets free, and they keep doing out. This is a crazy thing they keep doing. They keep doing the fake out death fade to commercial for no reason. Mega Man, he ain't gonna die. And they keep faking out. They're like, oh, is this it? Is Mega Man gonna die this episode? At least do it for someone else. Or, I don't know. You gotta, do a cliffhanger on something else. Mega Man, vanishes off the digital Earth. And the announcers go back to commentating about the match. They say they hope more action happens soon. And Proto Man cuts apart Stone Man, but he has a regenerative program. Mega Man is just chilling under some rocks. Breaks out with some mini boomers. And then he finally uses program advance. It's a crazy episode. Alright, episode 22. It cold opens with Mega Man and Proto Man already battling it out. This is the final match. Have no idea how they could spin the winner. Crazy to me that Meilu is, again, it's crazy to me how Meilu got thrown out of the tournament since Roll got taken over should have taken a roll to the Net Navi Pokemon Center. I wrote this in my notes twice. Never thought about it, but Higsby is a ref, and he and Numberman are actively rooting for Lan out here. There's like a mysterious Net Navi during the match, and the match gets so intense. The match gets so intense that the arena itself just begins to break apart. Like actual pillars. Again, these are Net Navis. And they're fighting in a digital arena. And all of a sudden, like, things in the actual world just begin to crumble apart. And people are like, oh man, we gotta get out of here. And like the arena begins to sink into the ocean. And everyone begins to leave. But Lan, Chad, Rubita, Higsby, and Mesa, he's like cheering them on. Again, Commander Beef and Mesa, they're real ones. I wrote Sword Clash, morph into Pure Energy Clash. I'm not sure what that means. Program Advance Clash. Mega Man falls weird into a countdown. Proto Man is hoping Mega Man up when the weird Net Navi comes out and deletes Mega Man. Pharaoh Man is like, you dare call yourselves champions? I am the ruler of the net. And Chad logs Proto Man out, and they all get away on helicopters and look at the remnants of the arena. And Lan looks at his PET, and Mega Man is still deleted. Cinema. In retrospect, though, this is kind of like a weird place to put Pharaoh Man, right? Like, he just kind of appears at the end of a really big match. And we don't know anything about him. And, right? I know, it's a strange place to put Pharaoh Man. Like, I appreciate his power and, like, but is that even his power? Let's talk about that. Or is that Mega Man and Proto Man destroying the arena? Or is it like half and half? I'm not sure. Next episode, let's jump into that. Episode 23. Dr. Wily, he just really wants Pharaoh Man. Here's a quote. The blink of an electronic eye. Lan's mom is referring to Dr. Hikari like he's dead for some reason. Pharaoh Man just doesn't have that aura. What's that alarm for? I bet that's something bad. Everyone gets like a loading screen ring appear in their PET. Ha ha ha. They're committed to the bit. I appreciate. Calling it Scilab. Pharaoh Man is like an Avengers level threat. He's going to attack not the world's like electronic thing. The whole network like you would expect. He's going to attack all of reality, which is insane. The double program advance freed Pharaoh Man. But who was sinking the arena? Are you really telling me Mega and Proto's battle was that intense? And the episode ends with Mega screaming, Lan, can you hear me? And Lan's like, I know you're out there somewhere. And Dr. Hikari's also not dead. He's like right there. Next episode. They say send in the clones, and I think that's a reference. I don't know. They say that on Pokemon a lot, so that has to be a reference to something. Unless they're referencing each other, I don't know. Commander Beef bribes Higsby with rare battle chips, and he just throws them on the floor. See, no splatter. Means our luck is changing. The spaghetti is working already. Rush, I guess, appears, and he's a dog, like a normal-looking dog, as normal as a NetNavi dog can appear. This is a good arc, I said. Other NetNavis / NetOps have to prove how strong they are without Mega Man. I would have made it a little long. I would have been fine for like 10 episodes of this, actually. Instead, we just get like one episode, which is insanity to me. So anyways, they're off in this desert looking for Mega Man. And it's kind of like the Noah arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where everyone was off doing their own thing in the virtual world, and the side characters kind of got more time to expand themselves. Tristan got turned into a monkey, you know that. People kind of didn't like that arc. I thought it was kind of good. Filler. People got their own opinions about filler. Rush, he opened up a portal, demolished fans with bunch of Mets. I thought that was a nice little touch. It's so windy in the desert, so they put a bunch of fan chips. Nice touch. I'll give you that, Mega Man writers. They're bringing back Mega Man when Pharaoh Man appears and he splits apart the room, and Mega, he just falls over. That was really funny. And then all of a sudden, rocks start falling from the ceiling. And Roll, she just stands there and covers her head. And I'm like, Roll, girl, get out of there. And Gutsman, he comes in, and he catches the rock that's about to crush her. They all run away. But Gutsman, he gets deleted. Like, Gutsman, just throw the rock. Drop the rock and go. Gutsman, what are you doing? You know me, how I love I guess you would call it a trope, like, one by one, the people, I guess, disappear or die, and then, you just gotta say, oh man, move on to the next room. You have to forget about them. That's kind of like what they're doing. Mega Man got, I guess, deleted last episode, and now it's Gutsman's turn. But that was like the lamest deletion ever. Why couldn't you just drop the rock? You could say it was too heavy for him, but the episode ends with Iceman, Glide, and Roll facing off against Pharaoh Man, facing off against Wily's army, and it's like, whoa, next episode is gonna be like the fight to end all fights. And then the next episode, first off, they use area steal to avoid getting hit with a barrage of missiles. All I'm saying is, NT Warrior writers, they could have used escape. It was right there. Maybe that's an English dub localization thing, but you dropped the ball hard on that one. I wrote, I kind of hope the sarcophagus opens up and inside Pharaoh Man is a cooler Pharaoh Man. Then I would be really vibing with him. And then so a random Pharaoh Man kind of looking statue comes out of the sand and just turns all three of them into stone. So the big fight you think is being hyped up just doesn't happen, and Iceman, Glide, and Roll just get turned to stone just immediately. Again, they had the episodes to build them up as not side characters, and they kind of wasted them. I'm just saying. Even even with the not being in Mega Man's shadow, I'm kind of disappointed. But Commander Beef and his team are still on the case until they get statuified to Sharkman. He looks into the statue's eyes, but Skullman somehow he jumps in front of the statuification, and he takes the full blast of it, I guess. And there wasn't like a beam transformation part before, I guess. NT Warrior, they're on something else this episode. Anyways, they input a code to shut down Scilab and Pharaoh Man's powers, but Pharaoh Man, he switches it back on, and then he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna order a satellite to make a direct course for Dentech City. That was a truly Thanos pulling down the moon moment. And then Proto Man shows up, and I'm like, man, where were you earlier, Chad? He instantly knows where Mega Man is. I guess he's like a physical being you can track, and he drills down to pull him out of the magma chamber, because he's like in a magma chamber on a collapsing rock platform. And Proto Man pulls him out, and then it's Proto Man versus Pharaoh Man, and I wrote Mega Man sure is taking a big snooze, because that's like all he's been doing like the past 5 episodes. And Mega Man comes back, and he wants to do a double program advance with only 2 minutes left until the satellite makes impact. Bro, what if one of you doesn't have the right chips? They defeat Pharaoh Man, and Dr. Hikari stops the satellite, but bro, everyone's net navies are still like gone. You know how long it took for you guys to get Mega Man back? You know what you guys had to go through? Go to the Nether? And then it turns out Pharaoh Man isn't gone, I guess. Wily just comes down, scoops him up, and Mega jumps into the portal after him. Land can't send Mega battle chips in Wily's fortress, but he can style change. Yo! He got style. Pharaoh Man doesn't want a human to control him. He would rather be deleted. A big explosion happens, and Mega gets warped back, and all his friends are okay, I guess. And it just kind of ends abruptly. I would have liked to see Land's friends do more cool things, I wrote. Next episode, I knew immediately what was going on and what it was referencing. It's the Netopia plane ride. Uh-oh. I'm like, is this gonna be as crazy as it was? And Chad is apparently here too, and he's like, watch out for the Mayor Land. And some creepy guy's like, Land, the mayor wants to meet you. Land's apparently doing like a all-star victory tour for being second place, and that's how he ends up in Netopia. That's the reason. He ends up in Netopia, and they pull him up on stage. They call him a loser for being second place, and the crowd hates him. And some of the crowd loves him. And Mega's like, let's get out of here. But Land's like, well, some of the crowd likes me. And he puts the PET in his backpack and puts it aside on the stage. But then after everyone leaves, he's like, where's my bag? So it's kind of like the two plot points in Netopia combined. Also, this is really strange, I wrote, because we just, like, brought Mega Man back from the dead. And now we're doing the Mega Man is gone again plot point. I don't know. A random guy comes up and he gives Lan his backpack back with the PET, and Lan doesn't say, "Hey, where did you get that?" Or, "Hey, do you have my PET? What's going on?" There's a muscular Mr. Match with scars, apparently. No comments, no notes. Lan only finds people who stole Mega Man by following his nose to a hot dog stand and finding mustard, smelly mustard. Typical Lan shenanigans. Lan is incredibly fit, jumping from rooftop, jumping off rooftops. Holy. Raul is pretty cool. And the mayor is just a billionaire corpo. Lan holds all his battleships upside down in this fight for some reason. I also put, they really have to stop cutting to commercial with the fake out Mega Man dust. They literally could do the cliffhangers any other way. The mayor turns on a bulldozer with Lan and Raul inside. It's just barreling through an alley. They do the Woods Shield style in this for the first time ever. Chad exposes the mayor, and they do I don't even know this line. "Next time, guys, hold off the hot mustard, will ya?" If that doesn't deserve a Omega lol, I don't know what will. And Mr. Match ends up working as a fire dancer. That's the craziest episode I've ever watched in NT Warrior. Pretty good. At least better than this one, I think. Next episode, already leaving Nettopia. I feel like they could have done like 8 episodes in Nettopia, which is crazy that they only did like 1. There's Netnabby's called Netnabby. Mr. Match, he's just a step behind them. I guess Fire Dance pays pretty well. These types of episodes, I feel like, again, comparing it to Pokemon, it's like the Island of the Giant Pokemon and Ghost of Maiden's Peak. All those little summer ones, Tentacool and Tentacruel, those sets. The summer type of episodes where they just go from one place to the other, and they kind of have a loose, connected story. But I guess the connection is like Mr. Match is just kind of like right behind Lan. That's the only connection. Yeah. But Lan sees a super expensive bag his mom would want. He enters Mega in a tournament because Mrs. Millionaire says the winner will get anything. It's basically bound out for 2 rules. No healing after the match. The twist is once you clear it, it just restarts. And Mrs. Millionaire is like, haha, now I can watch them forever. Ho ho ho. And I say, why can't they just strike out or refuse to move on to the next area? And then Proto Man shows up, and they use Heat Guts style against Snake Man, and I'm like, we already saw Heat Guts. Really? We just introduced the styles, like, not too long ago, and now we're seeing repeats? Dr. Hikari ends up getting Lan's mom the bag, and that's how the episode ends. Just not too exciting of an episode, I guess. Now, this episode's like top 3, maybe top 1 episode of all time for me. Episode 28. It's centered around Count Zap, which I wasn't really a big Count Zap fan, but now, I don't know, this episode hits different. It's a Count Zap Halloween episode, and I'm like, alright, I'm in. And he says, World 3 doesn't even exist. This is a crazy lore drop. Count Zap's name is Jack? Already, like, there's more lore in this episode than all of last episode. I like this other side to Jack Zap. It reminds me of the episode where it's revealed that James, another reference to Pokemon, James from Team Rocket is actually really rich. We get introduced to like Count Zap's mansion and his mother. Lan is looking for Nessie and he's awoken by his alarm. Lan stops at a runaway bus and he's on, and they're all stuck inside on the side of the road in the rain. Mr. Match is taking a plane to the wrong place now. So Count Zap's mom is like, you better try and beat that Lan Hikari in that Mega Man now. And then she helps Count Zap formulate like this whole plan. And finally Lan gets off the bus and into the abandoned castle to try and like make a phone call or something. Yeah, make a phone call. And then Count Zap tricks him into a net battle with him, but the arena is rigged, so the net op takes damage. But the net Navi does another Pokemon thing, but Mega starts to turn the tides with a bunch of mini boomers, but Mama Zap hits Lan with a bolt of lightning. She's standing on like the roof, and it knocks him out. His alarm clock wakes him up just in the nick of time to beat Electman and get back to the bus. Maddie then wanders into the castle, and the castle is all ruined. And you're like, what the heck? And she talks to Count Zap, and there's like dust on picture frames, and when I say ruined, it's like half gone. And it's crazy. And Manny's like, you want to restart World 3? And Count Zap's like, I guess. And it looks like nobody's lived there for like 100 years. And makes you think, like, did Mama Zap even exist? Or did that lightning bolt come down and like randomly hit Lan? This episode is cinema. What happened this episode? This is like a crazy. How did the people that make this episode drop the ball on the character development of all the side characters in the weird Noah arc, but not Noah arc? I'm not sure. Next episode, Lan flies to a different country dressed for curry, and they're like, do you want some curry? Bunches of curry? And he's like, I love curry. And then he has curry ice cream and curry this and curry that. And Count Zap and Maddie, they're just hang gliding in the mountains to sneak up on Lan. And they drop into Abyss. and that's it for them. And Lan's friends they're just chilling on a boat, and then they're like, let's just pay a visit on our dear friend Lan, and I believe it is not Yai, not Meilu. I think it's Dex that is like, what do you mean? How can we do that? And Yai's like, I got money. And then they just take off in a jet and then a rocket. And they take off across the world. And then Yahoo is like, I'm a master in curry making. And the rest of World 3 shows up, and Yahoo reveals his net battling arena, which is actually a curry research facility. And the Spice Master 5000 interactive automatic curry machine. That's what it's called, I guess. World 3 becomes curry warriors, and Yahoo tests their teamwork. Because once their teamwork gets better, the curry tastes better. And so Lan enters the restaurant, and he falls into World 3's curry making net battling scheme, I guess. And the arena just turned out to be a bowl of curry. This is the first time we've seen an actual arena that's not a digital arena. And it's a 4v1. Lan holds a chip upside down again. I'm not sure what that is. If that's a localization thing or what's going on there. World 3 kicks a ball around into Mega Man, and he falls into a clay oven that rises up called a tandoor. I guess that's a play on the tandoori type of thing. And they begin cooking Mega Man alive. And the oven has a firewall. World 3's curry is perfect now. Yai and friends just drill into the ground and into the arena. Meilu she also holds a chip upside down. It's contagious. Yahoo's machine scans them and makes even more perfect curry. Electric team style change. And then Mega Man and Iceman fuse together. I didn't even know that was possible. They fused together. And Yahoo wanted to use World 3 to make an ultimate curry first restaurant. He didn't even want to rebuild World 3. That was his ulterior motive. And then they're like, come on, Yahoo, you don't even want to rule the world. The final episode we'll be talking about is a good one to leave off on. I'm not sure how I keep leaving off on cliffhangers, but I keep doing it. Net City. Meilu, she rushes over to Lan's house. She's really excited to show him Net City. But before you can enter, you need to be scanned in and verified. Kind of similar to what's going on in today's online environments. Net City, it has ads, which is crazy. It also has virtual arcades. So virtual arcades. They have Vocaloid idols. Net Navis also can buy their own chips. In fact, net battling is illegal in Net City. It's supposed to be peaceful here. It's like a city where net navis can live in peace, I guess. Also, there's new rules for net battling. I guess this Battle City. There's 300 unique environments in the net battling Coliseum. And then they do Rabida versus Higsby. One thing they do to shake it up is you can still control the weapons after you download them. What? That's insane. If that's like the tease for Battle Network 3, you got me hooked. I'm in. Rabito wins. Justice for Higsby, of course. And then I was like, oh no, this is the gas heater Yai Bass scenario. And base, he just starts aura farming. They also changed the poison gas to steam in the scenario, which kind of makes more sense. Because, it's a sauna. Your man, he combines 3 tornado chips to create a huge cyclone. They use heat guts again, and they say, is that supposed to scare me? No, it's supposed to delete you. It's like, alright, man. Commander Beef and his crew come in and take Arashi immediately away. No hesitation. Afterwards, he gets a phone call saying, since Lan saved one person, he's lost thousands in that city. And it begins to rain for the first time there. Cinema. Like, that's a good cliffhanger. Now, what did I think of NT Warrior? I think some episodes I liked a lot more. Specifically, of course, the Mama Zap one. Like, what was going on in that episode? The Net City, I kind of really want to know what's going on in Net City. If that kind of makes its way into Battle Network 3. I know the tournament takes like a big part in Battle Network 3. Specifically Caroline, I kind of got spoiled on that. Looking up information about it. But, what else? In Battle Network 3, I kind of hope, because there's 2 versions of 3, I hope my prediction of Pharaoh Man having like another form is correct. Because, like I said, Pharaoh Man, he just doesn't have the aura to be a main villain. But what do you think of? Also, I want to say, Arashi and the Net Mafia, they don't have the staying power as World 3. I hope World 3 keeps coming back, because Net Mafia, hopefully they have the juice to cut loose. But what do you think of NT Warrior and the Sonic movies? Remember when we were talking about those like an hour ago? What do you think of those? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time when I do something else, bye bye.